Coming up on show 393, the I Can't Believe He's Still Ill edition, the all-time Model 3 production estimate exceeds a huge milestone. EVs are to blame for car companies leaving the UK, and the European Union are targeting a cut to truck emissions, which could have big implications for the rest of the world. Good morning, good afternoon and good evening. In fact, wherever you are in the world, welcome to EV News Daily. Wednesday the 20th of February. It's Martyn Lee here, and I've been through every EV story I could find today and picked out the ones to save you time. And yes, still struggling with the man flu at the moment, but feeling better as time goes on. Thank you for your patience. Thank you to myev.com for helping make this show. I'm actually having a catch up with the team over at myev tomorrow, just to a quick call, see how they are, see how it's going, and a bit of a status update as well. It's the world's first marketplace about buying and selling EVs, and if you're interested in the USA, if you're interested, check out myev.com. Welcome to the latest member of our Patreon gang. Thank you so much, Tom. Now, Tom Raftery or Raftery. Tom, thank you very much for your contributions for our question of the week and on Twitter as well. And now, your contribution to Patreon and helping make this show, keep it going, build it, spread the word around the world about EVs. As I was walking out to do the podcast today, I did see a story just crop up in my timeline. The Tesla Model Y could well be unveiled in China at the Shanghai Auto Show. Now, that's going to be April 16th onwards. Press day is normally a day or two before. So if that rumour is true, then that is only a couple of months to wait until we see the Tesla Model Y. Based on the Model 3 platform, 75% of components are identical and shared, which will make the production ramp so much quicker and easier. And again, it's a rumour, so that's all I'll say on that at the moment. It does make sense, but you know what these things are like. Well, staying with a car that has very much concrete figures behind it, and that's how many the Model 3 has been making. That ramp has been improving every week, it seems. And now, Bloomberg's Tesla Model 3 tracker. Yes, we know it's not perfect. Yes, we know it's based on lots of different metrics, and none of them are as good as Tesla themselves telling us how many Model 3s have been made. But the Bloomberg tracker shows all-time production of the Model 3 just hit 200,000 vehicles. Since July 2017, when the first 30 were delivered, the Bloomberg counter actually says 200,667 produced. That's not sold, that's produced. An average production rate of 5,500 Model 3s a week. That's on a 13-week trailing average, by the way. He says, Mark Kane at InsideEVs.com. Total production for this quarter has already hit 45,000. That's more than 1 month ago. With more than 1 month to go, should make Q1 the best quarter easily, the best quarter so far. But of course, a lot depends on how accurate those estimates are. Yes, there are flaws to the Bloomberg tracker. They say themselves it's not perfect. It simply pulls together some indicators to give us an estimate. A comment from one of the users on the InsideEVs forum, CommonSense, says this, and I quote, if you add in the current production of the X and the S, they're making around 9,000 cars a week, which is, if you extrapolated that, 468,000 cars a year. It looks like they're on track to surpass their goal for the year. In other words, Elon Musk is placing Tesla in a position of where they will exceed expectations rather than fall behind, which has always been the lofty goals that he set. Never met them, but still had amazing achievements, but it was always one of the particular criticisms that was levelled at him. Moving on to EVs. And they're being blamed for a certain set of circumstances over the last couple of days. Here in the UK, Honda have been making cars in Swindon for a very long time. They confirmed the news they're pulling out of the UK, closing down their Turkey factory as well. All Honda production being done in the home market of Japan. But why? Yesterday we said the B word, and that would be Great Britain leaving the European Union group of countries, the Brexit. However, Ian Howells is the senior VP for Honda in Europe, and he said this, and I quote, "We're seeing unprecedented change in the industry on a global scale. We have to move very swiftly to electrification of our vehicles because of demand of our customers." This is not a Brexit-related issue for us. It's being made on the global-related changes I've spoken about, end quote. So very clearly saying there that it's the fault of electrification that Honda are having to close down their plant in the UK. Yeah, on a global scale, Honda is not the biggest player by a very long way. So if you're having to invest in R&D and make EVs, then if you have to close down the factories which are less important than the ones in the UK, aren't as important in terms of the wider scheme of things. It also begs the question, why have they not got EVs on the market already? We know the Honda Urban EV is coming, but they're very much blaming electrification for the reason why they're having to make cutbacks, which is a little bit the wrong way around. It's a little bit like blaming the sun for you getting sunburnt rather than saying that you should have actually bought some sunblock and applied it correctly. Greg Clark is the UK Minister of speaking out of his backside. He said the UK is a world leader in EVs and autonomous vehicles. Gotta love a good politician saying some not only meaningless words, but entirely wrong. The UK, I love my country. The UK is not the world leader in EVs and autonomous vehicles. We have, by the way, most of the Formula One teams are based here in the UK. Incredible technology. We have companies like Avid Technology, who we've spoken to on the podcast before. World leaders in the space. It doesn't make the UK the world's leader in EVs, as much as a politician might want to say that phrase, while scratching his head at why Honda would leave. Oh, love a politician. Moving on to Tesla's Sentry mode, which allows your vehicle to be aware of its surroundings while parked and using sensors, microphones, cameras and computers. While active, Sentry mode evaluates the risk of theft or vandalism. It records video, activates visual and auditory alarms, and then sends you mobile notifications as necessary, say Tesla. And they've made an additional note, though. Additional battery power is consumed whilst the Tesla Sentry mode is active. To enable it, your battery level must be more than 20%. This is very cool, though. This is like a super alarm system. Now, a super alarm system would cost you $500, maybe $800 if you were to add that onto a car. And overnight, with an over-the-air update, if you're lucky enough to own a Tesla, then this Sentry mode, which monitors your car permanently, is a nice addition that you didn't think you were going to get, and your car just got better. Sentry mode, they say, will send recorded footage to Tesla for backup and feature improvement. So that was in response to some criticism that actually, if any thieves were smart enough and knew where the USB stick was, they could break into your Tesla and remove the USB stick, which is being recorded onto, swipe the evidence. So this update from Tesla says that the footage will be sent back to the mothership for safekeeping. You can enable or disable the collection and sending back to Tesla via the control settings on your screen. Sentry mode will play loud music when the alarm is triggered. Avoid leaving sentient beings in the vehicle when Sentry mode is active, say Tesla. And I love that. No other car company could put in their official document, avoid using it when sentient beings are in the vehicle. I love their sense of humour as well. Moving here to the EU and some new rules which will impact you where you live because, as I like to point out, when places like California or the European Union set rules, emissions rules, targets, it affects everybody, the rest of the world, because you wouldn't make a vehicle compliant for a massive market like California. You know, you wouldn't make one vehicle that's compliant there and then sell the dirty ones elsewhere. What's the phrase? A rising tide floats all boats. It's that. So trucks here in Europe, which account for 22% of all vehicle emissions, actually only make up 5% of all vehicles on the road. Isn't that disgusting? 22% of all emissions come from 5% of vehicles, and that are the dirtiest trucks. Truck makers are going to have to cut the carbon emissions of trucks they sell in Europe by almost a third, following a deal reached in the early hours of this morning by lawmakers in the European Union. Transport and Environment, T&E, said that the European Union's first ever emissions reductions targets for heavy-duty vehicles and a sales benchmark for zero emission trucks also agreed sparks climate action and fuel savings as well. Manufacturers whose new truck sales are more than 2% EVs in their entire fleet are going to be rewarded with some less stringent emissions targets. The deal also includes a 2-ton additional weight allowance for those trucks that are zero emission. T&E said the targets will help kickstart the shift away from diesel. Diesel trucks accounting for 20% of air pollution in cities like Berlin, like London. Steph Cornelis is the cleaner trucks officer at T&E and said with the world's first target for zero emissions trucks, EU regulators are sending a strong signal to the market. So far, Europe's big truck makers have done very little actually to create a market for EVs. They now have a unique opportunity to take the lead in the race, making affordable, reliable, zero emissions trucks, but they better hurry or they'll be playing catch up by Chinese and Californians. European car makers are struggling with that at the moment with the Chinese EVs and the Tesla EVs. You would argue some of the German car makers have been caught a little bit behind. They're catching up very quickly. 2020, 2021 is the target because of those emissions rules. The truck makers, though, and particularly those that make very, very popular trucks like Daimler trucks, they can steal a lead. They can lead the world on this beat, and they are out there with their e-Actros ahead of the Tesla semi-truck and leading the way in commercial vehicles. Well done to them. Moving on to Audi. In another bid to show the prowess of EVs, Audi sent its first EV, the e-tron, up the snowy slopes of a ski slope in the hands of Matthias Ekstrom. He is the world rally cross champion and a two-time DTM champion, says the website called Petrolicious. I sometimes think that in the future, that website, Petrolicious, is probably going to have to do a name change. Batterylicious or something. The car was equipped as a technology demonstrator. So, before you get excited, this is not the e-tron that you can buy on the streets, not that you can buy one at the moment, with a special, don't know where that word came from, with a special Quattro powertrain. 2 electric motors were added to the rear axle, one on the front. 19-inch wheels had spiked tyres. Now, Peter Orbundorfer is the head of product and technology communications at Audi, and he said this, and I quote, "We already proved the mettle of the electric SUV last year in extreme environments. Pikes Peak, the salt plains of Namibia, to the high-voltage test bay in Berlin. The Audi e-tron prototype mastered the greatest of challenges with the sensational drive up the ski slope. We have pushed the boundaries even further and demonstrated the possibilities of Quattro technology, but in an EV." End quote. This wasn't actually, like I say, this wasn't the e-tron that you can buy. This was a modified version of the car, but still, it was an 85% gradient up a ski slope. An 85% gradient up a ski slope, with the electronics looking after all of that instant torque available to an EV. Just wonderful. Well, soon, people in Germany will be able to choose from a variety of Model 3 rental cars. The electric car rental service Nextmove has ordered 100 Tesla Model 3 sedans for its fleet. Nextmove is Germany's top firm for EV rental. This order makes it Tesla's largest customer in Germany. Recent reports confirm that the company now has taken delivery of the first 4 Model 3s, reports Stephen Loveday for InsideEVs.com. The initial delivery of Teslas are all of the performance variety and are currently in Nextmove's possession at its Berlin site, which is one of 10 locations in Germany. As far as I know, nobody who is a customer of Nextmove has hired one out yet, but if you know, if you see something on Twitter or YouTube, let me know, and we'll real report on that. Blimey, I'm struggling today. 3 more stories if I can get through. BMW is seeking alternative cooling technologies. They are crowdsourcing solutions. They're asking the clever people of the world, please tell us, please help us, say BMW, to keep our batteries cool. They need the peak cooling capacity during fast charging while reducing the vibration and noise emissions that come with cooling, says Green Car reports. Yes, my car, when the fan really kicks in, does somewhat sound like it's about to take off. Well, faster charging creates more heat to be dissipated within a short period of time. Current technologies use electric refrigerant compressors. BMW is looking for innovative cooling technologies for fast charging applications that can cope with heat dissipation without exceeding noise levels. The thing is, the more you add cooling to the car, the heavier the car gets. And I was just wondering, of course, I'm an idiot, so ignore me. I was just wondering how much of this can be put inside the charging stations at the roadside, because we know that the ultra-fast chargers are going to have liquid cooling in the cables. Do you think it would be possible, a bit like we don't now carry around massive hard drives, but all of our files live in the cloud? Then we have little hard drives on our computers or phones, and little storage. What about if all the battery cooling was done off-board by the charger. So your battery had some cooling on it maybe when you are driving around, but what if the charger was responsible for, I don't know, maybe pumping coolant around, and that way you could put the big pumps away from your car where you couldn't hear it if it really was super noisy. Probably a crazy idea. Right, back to Tesla. They've been promising their Model 3 battery pack since the start of the announcement of the car for $35,000. But now, in an own goal that only Tesla could do, and this is partly why I love the company, because another one of their spectacular own goals, they have now completely removed all mention of the $35,000 car, the base model for the Model 3, from their website. Why would you do that? Says Electric. For the past few months, Tesla's been listing the version of the base model car coming 4 to 6 months, and that hasn't changed as the months have gone by. It's always said 4 to 6 months, but today, totally removed. During the conference call with analysts, the Q4 financial results were last month. Elon Musk said himself that the new version of the Model 3 will be available in the middle of the year. We expect, this is what he said, we expect to introduce the standard range Model 3 sometime during the middle of the year. It's a rough guess. So it's coming. He said that on an investor call. You can't lie on those investor calls. We've no reason to believe it's not coming. Everyone knows it will come at some point. But by taking all mention of it off your website, well, you just don't do yourself any favours, like I say. It's the ultimate own goal. I'm sure it'll be back on tomorrow when they realise that it caused a huge fuss and lots of people to get very worried. Right, final story. Jacob Olivia for Motor1.com says that the Mercedes-AMG 1 is a stunning hypercar that is going to bring F1 technology to the road with a 1.6-litre V6 but 3 electric motors. Its owners are assured of a momentous driving experience every time they spend time behind the wheel. But of course, what's the ultimate accessory for a driving experience? That would be some driving gloves. And you know that phrase, it fits like a glove? Well, it's appropriate here. One of the future AMG 1 owners said online that he was sent a box. Inside the box is a template. It's a template for his handprint. You make an imprint of your hand. The instruction is to then send it back to AMG, who will make you the perfect custom fit set of gloves. And that's what you get for buying a $2.7 million hypercar with 3 electric motors. I've not put my order in for one of those yet. Must get round to that. Right, very quickly, while my voice holds up, thank you to myev.com for setting our question of the week. It's this: is there room for a startup EV maker to succeed? Has Tesla done that now against all odds? But now that the big German manufacturers are getting into the game, has that closed the door? Or is there room for more startups? Let me know. Email hello@evnewsdaily.com. You can let me know comments on Facebook and Twitter and myev.com. Thank you very much to 185 patrons, with Tom's support now makes 185. If you want to check out what it's all about, no pressure, patreon.com, patreon.com /EV News Daily. And you can see that the way we make this program is all about you funding it. We are not beholden to any particular car maker that's sponsoring the show that wants me to say nice things about their certain car. You can agree or disagree on you know what I say, and I hope you do as well. Do your own thinking when I give you some opinions on the podcast. But it does mean that I have 185 bosses rather than one. And that's a wonderful thing. If you want to download any of the previous shows, they are online thanks to our Patreon supporters. Thank you very much to everyone who funds this show. There are 392 previous shows online. You can subscribe to get new ones. If you hit subscribe on any podcast app, I get it in all the places. The audio goes on YouTube as well. Come and say hi on Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter by searching EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. I'm off for some throat sweets. I'll catch you tomorrow if I'm well enough. And in the meantime, remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.